Let's bring in Republican Senator from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, to get her reaction to those statements and more. Senator, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Shannon. And I will tell you, those statements are things that ought not to be said on the floor of the U.S. House. Israel is one of our nation's longest and closest allies. Israel does have a right to self-defense. They are being attacked by Hamas. Hamas is being funded by Iran. Hezbollah has also joined in attacking Israel. And should Israel defend themselves? Yes. And I am grateful that we have the Iron Dome in place. Of course, we have helped Israel with that defense. The Iron Dome is what they are using to protect themselves. They have had over 1,500 strikes that have been coming into them. The number has increased. The president should support them. The other leaders in the region should support Israel as they defend themselves.
You signed on to a letter with a number of other GOP senators last night. This letter to President Biden said Palestinian terrorists in Gaza who are funded by Iran are targeting Israeli civilians and cities. This is troubling as members of your administration are currently in Vienna negotiating with Iran. We call on you to immediately end negotiations with Iran. Any response from the White House? And if not, what's your message to them tonight?
My message is we have to realize Iran is a part of the new axis of evil. Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. And the JCPOA, which was the Iran nuclear deal, should have gone to the Senate as a treaty. It did not. And now they are trying to negotiate with Iran. John Kerry is very close to Iran, we have learned, and there is really quite a bit of frustration with him and over the Zarif comments. And we know that when you lift sanctions on Iran, when you unfreeze assets, Iran is the globe's most aggressive sponsor of terrorism. They are a state sponsor of terrorism. We know that they are funding Hamas. They're also funding Hezbollah. And for the U.S. to be negotiating with Iran when Iran is funding Hamas and Hamas attacking Israel, they should walk out of the room and end this immediately and call on these strikes to end now.
And again, making distinctions between civilians and terror groups. The U.S. has designated Hamas a terror group. So in this situation, that should be clear. I want to ask you about some domestic issues as well. National Review, under this headline, says inflation soars as Biden pushes for $4 trillion in more spending. Now, asked about the new inflationary numbers reaching some new highs, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said this. She says, our view on it is it reflects the reality of an economy that's rapidly turning back on because of a successful economic strategy. What do the inflationary numbers say to you, and will lawmakers on the Hill get behind this new $4 trillion in spending?
Lawmakers are not going to support this new $4 trillion in spending because we're hearing from the American people. I'm hearing from Tennesseans every single day about this. I heard from people yesterday about the price of fresh produce at the grocery store, about what is happening with packaged goods, the cost that is going up on a bottle of water, what you are seeing happen on a gallon of gas at the pump. And then, of course, the strike on the Colonial Pipeline, the cyber strike, has caused even more concern with that. But Shannon, consumables are going through a price increase. And when people are checking out at the cash register, they are seeing this. And what we realize is that every time the price of hydrocarbons go up, that increases the cost of that plastic packaging that you're taking that produce home in, that the bag of chips is wrapped in. This drives up the cost of everything, not just the cost of transportation fuel. And it's one of the reasons stopping the Keystone Pipeline was so detrimental to our economy. You look at what decisions like that, the talk about raising taxes, you look at what that does to the price of everyday life, from the time your feet hit the floor in the morning to the time you go to bed at night. The cost of everything, whether it is energy, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the cost of everything is going up. And when you look at the increase in inflation, should this concern you? Yes, it is the most rapid increase and the greatest 1 month increase that we have had in a very long time.
Well, it is all interconnected, and all those issues have got to be addressed at some point. Senator, thank you for joining us tonight. Always good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.